Thank you for tuning in to leaddeveloper.com, where we simplify complex property development feasibilities, investment analysis, and everything real estate. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, our Google Sheets-based feasibility suite streamlines the toughest aspects of real estate. Lead Developer Feasibility Suite is trusted by thousands in over 17 countries. Our tools cover everything from quick assessments to detailed cash flow projections and more. Sign up today at leaddeveloper.com for unlimited free access to our expanding library of real estate tools. No credit card needed. Plus, get full support through Edge with step-by-step guidance, exclusive courses, and resources designed for your success. Turn numbers into narratives that win over investors and lenders. Join Lead Developer now.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving into the construction phase of property development.
Ooh, exciting.
I know, right? This is where it all comes together.
Yeah, you finally get to see all that planning turn into something real.
Exactly. And to guide us through all the complexities, we've got Amber Khanna's Property Development 101 Construction Guide.
Fantastic resource.
So whether you're a seasoned developer or just starting out, get ready to learn a ton about everything from picking the right contractor to navigating those tricky construction contracts.
I think one of the things I really appreciate about Khanna's approach is the focus on empowering developers.
Oh, how so?
It's not just about following a set of rules. It's about understanding the why behind each decision.
Yeah.
Really learning how to ask the right questions along the way.
I love that. It's like she's giving us the tools to become more savvy, well-informed developers.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first big hurdle Khanna tackles is contractor selection. And she makes it clear right off the bat that it's about so much more than just picking the lowest bid.
Oh, absolutely. Due diligence is crucial here.
Right.
And that starts with understanding the different tiers of contractors out there.
Okay.
So Khanna outlines these three main tiers.
Okay.
You've got tier one contractors, the heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
They handle those massive infrastructure projects like highways and airports.
Oh, wow.
Then you've got tier two contractors who focus on large-scale commercial and residential projects.
Okay.
But for most individual developers, it's going to be tier three contractors that you'll be working with.
Gotcha.
They typically handle residential builds and smaller commercial projects.
So tier 3 is where a lot of us will probably land.
Yeah, most likely.
But Khanna points out that this tier can be a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to experience levels.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that makes thorough vetting even more important, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where Khanna's insights become so valuable.
Yeah.
She really highlights this common pitfall that so many developers fall into.
Uh-oh. What's that?
Choosing a contractor based solely on cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
While budget is definitely a factor, opting for the cheapest quote can often backfire in the long run.
That makes sense. I can imagine cutting corners could lead to some serious headaches down the road.
Exactly. Underquoting, it can lead to variations.
Variations.
Yeah, essentially requests for more money once the project's underway.
Oh,
And even worse, it can result in shortcuts being taken,
oh no.
compromising the quality of the build,
Right.
and ultimately tarnishing everyone's reputation.
So how do we avoid these construction nightmares?
Well, Khanna recommends this multi-layered approach,
Okay.
starting with the tendering process.
Now, I've heard this term thrown around, but to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what it entails.
Oh, okay, sure.
Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, of course. So tendering, it's essentially a system for contractors to submit proposals
Okay.
to manage a construction project.
Got it.
It's a formal process. That allows developers to compare bids from different contractors and choose the best fit.
That sounds helpful. But Khanna mentions different types of tendering.
Right.
So what's the difference, and how do you know which one to use?
Great question. So there are three main types: open tendering, selective tendering, and negotiated tendering.
Okay, let's break those down.
Okay, so open tendering is basically opening the door for anyone to submit a proposal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This emphasizes competition,
Right.
but it can also be really overwhelming for both the developer, who has to sift through a mountain of bids,
I bet.
and also smaller contractors who might feel intimidated by those larger firms.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
So what about selective tendering?
So selective tendering is a bit more targeted.
Okay.
The developer actually creates a short list of pre-qualified candidates
Okay.
based on certain criteria.
Right.
So this saves everyone time
Yeah.
and ensures a better fit from the outset.
That sounds more manageable and efficient for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And negotiated tendering.
So negotiated tendering involves directly inviting one or more specific contractors to submit proposals.
Okay.
This approach is often used for specialized work
Gotcha.
or smaller projects where you might already have a contractor in mind
Right.
or you require very specific expertise.
So the type of tendering you choose really depends on the nature of the project and your own preferences as a developer.
Exactly.
I'm already starting to see how having this knowledge puts me in a more empowered position.
Right. It's great.
But tendering aside, Kana emphasizes that rigorous due diligence is non-negotiable.
Oh, absolutely.
Why is this so crucial even if you're not going through a formal tendering process?
Because due diligence is about protecting yourself and your investment.
Right.
It's about minimizing risk
Yeah.
and ensuring that you're working with a reliable, competent contractor.
Makes sense.
So whether you're using a tendering process or not, these checks are essential.
Okay, let's get into the specifics. What steps does Kana recommend we take?
All right, so first up, legal checks. This is about verifying the contractor's licenses, registrations, solvency, and insurance.
Okay, so that's like the basic stuff.
It's basic, but essential.
Right. It sounds like a no-brainer. But I can see how some people might overlook these fundamentals in their eagerness to get the project rolling.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement.
So what comes next?
Then it's time to run what Kana calls headline tests.
Headline tests. Okay.
This involves searching online for any red flags or negative news about the contractor.
Oh, interesting.
You'd be surprised what you might uncover.
I bet.
It's a simple step, but it can save you from a lot of potential heartache down the line.
I'm making a note of that. So a quick Google search could reveal a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What else should we be looking into?
Don't just take their word for it when they're boasting about their experience.
Mm-hmm.
Check their track record.
Okay.
Have they completed similar projects successfully?
Right.
Are there satisfied clients you can speak to? Kana suggests going a step further and actually conducting site inspections
Oh, wow.
of their current projects.
I love that idea. Seeing is believing, right?
Exactly.
What should we be looking for during a site inspection?
Pay attention to their organization,
Okay.
their safety practices,
Mm-hmm.
how they handle material waste.
Right.
It gives you a real insight into their professionalism and how they run their business.
It's like getting a behind-the-scenes look at their work ethic.
Exactly.
That's incredibly valuable.
And finally, don't underestimate the power of interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to past and present clients.
Oh, okay.
Ask about their communication style,
Uh-huh.
their ability to meet deadlines,
Yeah.
the overall quality of their work.
Yeah.
These conversations can be incredibly revealing.
So we've done our homework. We've vetted potential contractors.
Yep.
And we're ready to make a decision.
Right.
What happens next?
Well, before you sign on the dotted line,
Uh-oh.
we need to talk about contracts.
Okay, here we go.
And trust me, this is where things can get a little tricky.
All right, let's dive into that in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We'll unpack the different types of construction contracts and explore those crucial provisions that Kana highlights to
Absolutely.
help us protect our interests.
It's so important.
Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we're back and ready to tackle those all-important construction contracts.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
I have to admit, this is the part that used to make my eyes glaze over.
I know, right? It can be a little dry.
But Kana's guide really breaks it down in a way that's surprisingly engaging and easy to understand.
Yeah, she does a great job of making it accessible.
So let's start with warranties and acknowledgments.
Okay.
What's the significance of these in a construction contract?
Well, these are fundamental for ensuring that the work meets the agreed-upon standards.
Right.
Kana stresses that warranties should clearly state that the contractor's work will comply with the plans and specifications.
Okay.
Relevant building codes and required approvals.
So it's like a guarantee that the work will be up to code and meet our expectations.
Exactly. It's about having that peace of mind, knowing that everything's being done by the book.
What about commencement and completion?
Okay.
I imagine it's important to have a clear understanding of what triggers those milestones.
You're absolutely right. Whether it's a specific date obtaining council approval or consent from your lender,
Right.
those conditions need to be spelled out clearly in the contract.
Okay.
And then there are those cooling off periods, which can sometimes trip people up.
Cooling off periods. I'm not familiar with those.
So cooling off periods give developers a chance to back out of the contract within a specific time frame,
Oh, okay.
even if work has already started.
Oh, wow.
Think of it as a safety net in case you have second thoughts or something unexpected comes up.
That sounds like a valuable protection for developers.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm guessing these periods vary depending on where you are, right?
Exactly. Cooling off periods can vary significantly depending on the jurisdiction. Some might be as short as 5 business days, while others could be longer.
Gotcha.
It's crucial to check what applies in your area to avoid any surprises.
Okay, good to know.
Kana also points out that some contractors might include a clause stating that you, the developer,
Right.
have sought legal advice before signing the contract,
Okay.
as this can sometimes affect those cooling off rights.
So it's always a good idea to have a lawyer review the contract before signing anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Essential.
Now let's talk about money.
All right, the fun part.
Kana goes into detail about progress payments and retentions.
Okay.
Can you explain how those work?
So progress payments are installments you make as the project progresses.
Okay.
They're typically tied to specific milestones like completion of the foundation, framing, lockup, and so on.
Makes sense.
Kana emphasizes that these payment schedules need to be crystal clear in the contract
Right.
to avoid any confusion or disputes down the line.
And retentions, what are those all about?
So retentions are percentages withheld from those progress payments. Think of it like holding back a portion of someone's paycheck
Right.
to ensure they fulfill all their obligations.
Gotcha.
It's a security measure for the developer.
So it's a way to incentivize the contractor to complete the work properly and address any outstanding issues before receiving the full payment.
Precisely. It's basically an insurance policy for the developer.
Okay, I like that analogy. And let's dive into some other important terms that Kana highlights. Variations, prime costs, and provisional sums.
Okay. These terms always sounded a bit intimidating to me.
Yeah, they can be a bit tricky.
So let's break them down.
All right, so let's start with variations.
Okay.
These are changes to the original scope of work.
Right.
They can come up for all sorts of reasons.
Okay.
Maybe you decide you want a different type of flooring,
Yeah.
or the council requests a modification to the plans.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kana stresses that variations can have a significant impact on both the timeline and the budget.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's crucial to have a clear process for handling them in the contract. I can imagine how variations could lead to some nasty surprises if they're not managed properly.
Exactly. You don't want to end up with a hefty bill you weren't expecting.
No, definitely not.
Now, prime costs and provisional sums are essentially ways to budget for those unknowns that can pop up during construction.
So they're like placeholders in the budget for things that haven't been fully defined or finalized yet.
Exactly. Prime costs are allowances for specific work or materials that haven't been precisely defined at the start.
Got it.
Kana uses the example of door handles.
Okay.
You might not know exactly which style you want at the beginning,
Right.
so you allocate a budget for them.
Yeah.
If you end up choosing fancy high-end handles, the overall cost goes up.
Makes sense.
Provisional sums are similar, but they're for things that are even harder to estimate up front,
Okay.
like site work costs. You might encounter unexpected issues during excavation that require additional work and money.
So it's like building in some wiggle room in the budget to account for those unforeseen circumstances.
That's a great way to put it. It's all about managing risk and avoiding those budget blowouts.
Right.
Now, in addition to these key provisions, Kana touches on a whole bunch of other important clauses that developers should be aware of.
Okay. Like what?
Things like permits and approvals, site access, insurance requirements, and indemnities.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider when it comes to construction contracts.
Definitely.
It's making me realize how important it is to have a lawyer carefully review everything before signing on the dotted line.
Absolutely. Having legal expertise on your side is essential.
So true.
One final provision that Kana emphasizes is dispute resolution.
Okay.
She stresses the importance of having a clear process in place for handling disagreements should they arise.
Right.
The goal is to avoid those drawn-out, costly legal battles that can really derail a project.
So it's about being proactive and establishing a framework for resolving issues amicably and efficiently.
Exactly.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground when it comes to contract.
We have.
But let's not forget the main event, the construction process itself.
Yeah, the exciting part.
Are you ready to dive into the nitty-gritty of how a building actually comes together?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of construction.
Yes. Let's see how those blueprints actually transform into a physical structure.
Where do we begin?
So Kana breaks down the construction process into 5 main stages.
Okay.
Base frame, lockup fixing, and completion.
All right, so it's like watching a building rise from the ground up, layer by layer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Each stage has its own unique challenges and considerations.
Okay, so let's walk through each stage.
Right.
First up, the base stage.
Okay.
What happens here?
This is where it all begins. Literally. The base stage involved all that initial site preparation work.
Okay.
Clearing the land, excavating for foundations, pouring those all-important concrete footings.
Right.
It's about creating a solid level base for everything that follows.
I can imagine that getting the foundation right is absolutely critical.
Oh, absolutely. A poorly laid foundation can lead to major structural issues down the line.
Oh, for sure.
Kana highlights the importance of ensuring proper drainage around the foundation
Okay.
to prevent water damage.
Right.
Waterproofing is another crucial consideration,
Yeah.
especially in areas prone to heavy rainfall or high water tables.
Makes sense.
And then there's termite protection, which is essential for safeguarding the structural integrity of the building.
So those are all things I wouldn't have necessarily thought about up front,
Yeah.
but it makes perfect sense that they're essential for the long-term durability of the building.
It's all about starting with a strong foundation.
Okay, so once the foundation is laid, what happens next?
Next comes the frame stage.
Frame stage.
This is where you really start to see the building take shape.
Okay.
Walls go up, the roof goes on, and those essential utilities like plumbing and electrical are roughed in.
Right.
It's a very visual stage,
Yeah.
and it's exciting to see that structure emerge.
It must be quite something to witness those timber frames going up and the building starting to resemble those architectural drawings.
Yeah, it's really rewarding.
What should developers be paying close attention to during this stage?
So Kana emphasizes the importance of understanding the structural elements being used.
Okay.
What type of framing is being used?
Right.
Are the materials high quality and compliant with building codes?
Makes sense.
These are crucial questions to ask to ensure the structural integrity and safety of the building.
It sounds like having a good understanding of construction terminology and techniques is really valuable for developers.
Absolutely.
It allows you to have more informed conversations with your contractor.
For sure.
Ask those pertinent questions.
Exactly. The more knowledge you have, the more empowered you are throughout the process.
Now, once the frame is up, the next stage is lockup.
Lockup. Okay.
What does that entail?
Lockup is all about sealing the building from the elements.
Okay.
External walls are completed windows, and doors are installed, and the roof is finished.
So it's weather tight.
Exactly. This is a major milestone because it allows interior work to progress regardless of the weather.
I can see why that would be a big moment.
Yeah, it's a big step.
It means you're one step closer to having a functional building.
Absolutely.
What happens once the building is locked up?
Then comes the fixing stage.
Okay, fixing stage.
This is where things really start to feel more like a home or a finished commercial space.
Right?
This is when all those internal features and finishes are installed.
Okay.
Plumbing fixtures, electrical wiring insulation, carpentry tiling painting.
Wow, so it's a very busy stage.
It is very busy with lots of different trades working together.
I bet the coordination during this stage is crucial.
Oh, it's absolutely essential.
It must be like conducting an orchestra, making sure everyone's playing their part at the right time.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
This stage really highlights the importance of having a skilled and experienced contractor
Yeah.
who can manage all those moving parts effectively. Clear communication scheduling and quality control are essential to keep things running smoothly.
It makes me appreciate the complexity of construction even more.
It is complex.
There are so many different trades and individuals involved, all working together to bring the project to life.
It really is a team effort.
Okay, so we've reached the final stage completion.
Yes, the final touches.
What happens during this phase?
This is where those finishing touches are added that truly bring everything together.
Okay.
Final paint goes on, fixtures are installed, the site is cleaned up, and those all-important occupancy certificates are obtained.
Ah, the occupancy certificate. That's the golden ticket.
Exactly. It's the official stamp of approval that the building is ready to be occupied.
But before we get too excited about popping the champagne,
Right.
Kana reminds us that regular inspections throughout each stage are absolutely vital
Oh, absolutely.
to ensuring quality and compliance.
Yes, essential.
That makes perfect sense. You want to make sure everything is being built to code and meets those required safety standards?
Right.
Who typically conducts these inspections?
So building inspectors from the local council will conduct mandatory inspections at various stages of the project.
Okay.
But Kana also recommends engaging a qualified independent building inspector
Okay.
for that extra peace of mind.
So it's like having a second set of eyes.
Exactly.
An expert who's looking out for your best interests and making sure everything is up to scratch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a worthwhile investment, especially for larger or more complex projects.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From choosing the right contractor and understanding contracts to breaking down each phase of the construction process.
Yeah, it's been a great deep dive.
What does this all mean for our listeners who are embarking on their own property development journeys?
Well, whether you're dreaming of building your own home or tackling a larger development project,
Right.
understanding the construction process is incredibly empowering.
And absolutely.
It allows you to ask the right questions,
Mm.
anticipate potential challenges, and ultimately make those informed decisions that lead to a successful outcome.
It's like Kana has given us a roadmap, a guide to navigate this complex terrain with more confidence and clarity.
I think that's a great way to put it.
But I imagine every project is unique,
Oh, for sure.
and there will always be unexpected twists and turns along the way.
Absolutely. Construction is a dynamic process, and there are always unforeseen challenges that can arise.
Right.
But having a solid foundation of knowledge, being prepared to ask lots of questions, and surrounding yourself with trusted experts like experienced contractors and legal professionals can help you navigate those challenges effectively.
It's a reminder that while we can learn a great deal from resources like Kana's guide,
Yeah.
there's no substitute for real-world experience and the wisdom that comes from learning by doing.
So true.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into property development construction.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy building.